right, so get this. Today, we're diving deep, right into the heart of Buddhism.
Oh, nice.
We're talking about, a religion that started with just one man's journey, his story, and now, impacts millions of people all around the world, which is amazing.
It's incredible.
You guys have sent us some seriously fascinating stuff on this, by the way, so thank you for that, listeners.
Yeah, thank you.
And let me tell you, I was hooked from, honestly, the first fact I read. Did you know that the Buddha wasn't actually from India?
Yeah, a lot of people think that's a really common misconception.
Right.
While, people associate Buddhism with India.
Uh-huh.
Siddhartha Gautama. He's the Buddha, right? He was actually born in Lumbini, which is in Nepal.
Nepal.
Yeah.
See, that changes things for me. I don't know why. It's like finding out pizza wasn't invented in Italy or something.
Right, exactly.
What's the proof, though? How can we be so sure about this historical mix-up?
So the most compelling evidence we have is this thing called the Ashoka Pillar inscription.
Okay.
And it was rediscovered in 1896, so we're talking over 100 years ago now.
Right.
This pillar, it was put up by Emperor Ashoka. You've probably heard of him. He famously converted to Buddhism.
Yeah.
And it very clearly pinpoints Lumbini as the Buddha's birthplace, which is huge.
So it's like archaeologists were like, boom, here's the evidence.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like finding a signed letter from history itself,
right,
confirming that what we thought we knew was totally wrong.
I love that. Archaeology for the win, rewriting history and all that.
I love it.
But enough about, the past. What's Lumbini like today? Yeah.
I'm picturing a really bustling city with ancient temples hidden around every corner. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
You're not far off, actually. You're pretty close.
Really?
Lumbini is more than just a historical footnote on a map.
Right.
It's like a living, breathing testament to the Buddha's enduring legacy. And that's really cool.
That's amazing.
The site itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, wow.
And it's a major pilgrimage destination.
Yeah, it makes sense.
With monasteries from all branches of Buddhism, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
So it creates this, really remarkable tapestry of cultures.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine just walking through a place where centuries of history and spirituality all converge. That's Lumbini.
Wow. That's going straight on the bucket list.
Right. Speaking of history, let's talk about the man who kind of started it all, right? Siddhartha Gautama.
Yeah.
His story, this is a classic, a prince who gives up this life of total luxury,
right,
to go and find enlightenment. It's a story that always seems to fascinate people, right?
Yeah, and I think for good reason, it's very compelling.
Right.
So Siddhartha's journey, it's far more than just an interesting tale, right? It's actually the foundation upon which this entire philosophy of Buddhism is built.
Yeah.
Try to imagine being born into unimaginable privilege, right?
Okay, yeah.
So palaces, servants, every desire met before you even knew you had it.
Right.
And yet still feeling this sense of emptiness inside.
Yeah.
That was Siddhartha's reality.
Wow.
He had it all. But it meant nothing when he was faced with the suffering he saw in the world around him, sickness, old age, death.
Right.
These encounters, they sparked a really profound internal conflict for him.
Yeah, I bet.
It made him question everything he thought he knew.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that kind of existential crisis would make anyone rethink their life choices, even a prince.
Totally, yeah.
So what did he do? I can't imagine trading places with him, ditching a life of luxury for, whatever it is he was searching for.
Right.
So this prince, right, he just ditches the palace life and he goes on this quest for truth. Sounds like, I don't know, a movie or something.
Yeah, totally.
But this wasn't some action flick. This was his real life, and it led him right to the core of Buddhist philosophy, right?
Exactly. That's it. Siddhartha's experiences, they directly inspired the first of what are known as the Four Noble Truths.
Okay.
Dukkha, the truth of suffering.
Right.
And, this isn't just about acknowledging that bad things happen sometimes, right? It's way more than that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that suffering, at a deeper level, is actually woven into, the fabric of existence itself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So think about it. Everything is temporary. Everything's always changing, right?
Yeah, right.
We cling to pleasure. We try to avoid pain, always chasing after all these fleeting desires.
Yeah.
And this constant striving, up and down, creates this cycle of dissatisfaction. And that's dukkha.
That makes a lot more sense than just saying life is suffering. It's that feeling of never being content, always kind of wanting more. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So how did Siddhartha, propose we break free from this cycle of always wanting, always wanting?
Yeah. So that's where the second noble truth comes in.
Okay.
Samugaya.
Okay.
The truth of the cause of suffering.
Uh-huh.
It's like, if you have a weed in your garden, it's about identifying the root of it.
Okay.
Not just trimming the leaves and hoping it goes away, right?
Right.
Get to the source.
Root for the source.
So Buddhism teaches that the root cause of all this suffering is craving and attachment.
Oh.
It's our kind of insatiable desire for things to be different than they are right now in this moment.
So clinging to desires, always trying to control everything, is that what keeps us stuck in this loop of being unhappy?
Yeah, pretty much.
I can see how that applies to everything, social media, comparing yourself to other people, work anxieties. It's all wanting what you don't have.
It's a human condition, right?
Totally. Yeah. But there's got to be a way out of this, right? You can't just leave us hanging with that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the good news.
Okay, good.
Nirodha, the third noble truth.
Okay.
This is all about the possibility of liberation from suffering.
Okay.
It states that by uprooting those cravings, those attachments we were talking about,
yeah,
we can actually achieve a state of true peace and lasting happiness.
All right. I am all for this lasting happiness thing. Sign me up. But it can't be as easy as just deciding not to want anything, right? How do you even do that?
Yeah, it's a journey, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like a magic trick, but, there is a path, a way to do it. And that's where that fourth noble truth comes in,
yeah.
Agoga.
Okay.
Which outlines the path to the cessation of suffering.
Right.
And it's often referred to as the eightfold path.
The eightfold path. Okay, yeah, I feel like I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think of it like a roadmap to enlightenment, and it's made up of 8 interconnected practices, right? Understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And don't worry, listeners, we're not going to make you memorize all 8.
No, Bob, quit.
But it sounds like it's not about being perfect in every single one of those areas, but more about just cultivating wisdom and ethical conduct and mental discipline, but in a holistic way, not just compartmentalizing.
Yeah, exactly. It's about weaving it all together, right? It's about balance in a way.
Yeah, so it's more like guidelines, not rules.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right, yeah. So, what I'm hearing is that it's a framework for living a more mindful, fulfilling life. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, you said we don't have to memorize all 8 parts, which I appreciate, but could you give us some real world examples?
Sure.
How would someone actually apply, say, right speech in our modern world? The world of internet trolls and just never ending arguments online.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And it kind of highlights how relevant these ancient teachings still are today, right? Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Speech, in the age of social media, could be as simple as choosing to pause before you post that angry comment, or taking a deep breath before you respond at a heated debate online.
Yeah.
It's about speaking with kindness and awareness, even when it's really, really difficult.
It's like that saying, is it kind, is it true, is it necessary before you speak?
Exactly.
Maybe we should all have that tattooed on our hands or something these days.
Right, a good reminder.
Right, speech on the internet, that's a challenge we could all probably, work on a little bit, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But it sounds like it all comes back to, mindfulness, which you mentioned earlier. It's just amazing to me how these ancient Buddhist principles are so relevant to our lives today.
Yeah.
Even if, you're not approaching it from a religious perspective, it makes sense.
It's a testament to how much these teachings really resonate with just the human experience,
Totally.
But it's not just about personal transformation.
Right.
Buddhism has had this kind of ripple effect on the world, influencing everything.
Yeah.
From art and architecture to how we think about ourselves and the universe.
You're right. The research you shared mentioned these incredible Buddhist temples and monasteries. The architecture, the artwork, it's breathtaking. You see photos and it's you're stepping into another world.
Yeah. Absolutely. Take the Great Stupa at Sanji, for example. This incredible structure. It's not just a monument.
Right.
It's a physical representation of the Buddha's path to enlightenment.
Oh.
It symbolizes that journey from ignorance to awakening.
Right.
And inside these temples, you'll find intricate mandalas, serene statues, and like these really vibrant paintings.
Yeah.
Each element carefully made to like convey these really profound spiritual teachings.
It's like every detail tells a story. It's inviting you to like really explore this like depth of Buddhist philosophy, you know?
Totally.
But you also touched upon something I thought was really interesting, the impact of Buddhism on kind of like Western thought in general.
Yeah.
Like mindfulness, that's a big one right now.
Yeah, huge.
You know, feels like that's kind of taken the West by storm.
For sure. And it's interesting how it happened, right?
Totally.
Like mindfulness is this practice, like deeply rooted in Buddhist meditation. And it's become, more and more popular.
Yeah.
In recent years, we're talking about meditation apps,
Yeah.
corporate wellness programs. It's everywhere.
Right.
And I think people are drawn to it because of its ability to like, reduce stress, help you focus.
Yeah.
And just cultivate this sense of like inner peace, which are all hallmarks of the Buddhist path we were talking about.
It makes you wonder, would this whole mindfulness movement even be a thing without, Buddhism kind of paving the way?
That's a good question.
It's pretty incredible to see how this philosophy that like started centuries and centuries ago is still shaping our world in such a like real way.
Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap up this deep dive on Buddhism, let's leave our listeners with kind of like some key takeaways.
Okay, that's good.
First off, remember, the Buddha wasn't from India, as many people believe. He was actually from present-day Nepal.
Yeah, got to set the record straight.
Exactly.
And remember, like, at its core, Buddhism isn't just about, chanting and meditation.
Right.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy. It's a way of life that offers, like, really practical guidance on how to understand and then, like, overcome suffering, which is something we all deal with.
So true. And, lastly, Buddhism is still shaping our world today in all these profound ways, from, like you said, art and architecture, even to how we approach, things like mindfulness and meditation today.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's something I think for everyone listening to kind of ponder as you go about your day. If the Buddha found enlightenment by observing suffering, really seeing it, and then like looking for a way out, how can we apply that same kind of approach to the challenges we're all facing in the world today? Whether it's, personal struggles or even like bigger picture things like social injustice, global issues. I mean, the list goes on. How can we all use this ancient wisdom to create a more compassionate, and just like enlightened future for everyone?
That's a powerful question. One I think we all need to like sit with for a while.
For sure. Something to think about. Well said. And until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking out your own moments of enlightenment.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.